We're back with some breaking economic data. The delayed November's jobs report is finally out. The U.S. economy added 64,000 jobs during that month. The unemployment rate now up to 4.6%.
We also got partial data from the delayed October report. 105,000 jobs were lost during that month. The unemployment rate was not published as the government shutdown disrupted that data collection.
NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Cheung joins us now to discuss all this. Brian, good morning. So for a non-recession year, this has been a tough one when it comes to jobs. I mean, walk us through these numbers, how they've changed over the last few months, and what they tell us about the state of our economy.
Yeah, and Joan, Savannah, as you kind of outlined, this is a really complicated report because not only are we looking at November, we're trying to look at the scraps of the October jobs report, which we're only getting in part because of the government shutdown. But let's talk about those highlight numbers again one more time, because as you mentioned, in the month of November, about 64,000 jobs added in the month. That sounds pretty good, but then they also got October numbers. Again, we are getting these over a month delayed because of the fact that there was the government shutdown, and that showed a contraction in the jobs market of, get this, over 100,000. We didn't put enough space on this bar chart actually to reflect that, which means that if you look at the period since April, since Liberation Day, as Justin Wolfers at the University of Michigan has pointed out, we are basically at a net zero in terms of job creation over the last, let's call it 7 months or so. Now, when we talk about the industries that were accounting for a lot of those job losses, specifically in October, we're talking about here, again, 2-month changes in employment in these particular industries, because, again, we did not get these October data reports prior to that. Talk about leisure and hospitality. We did add 4,000 jobs on that 2-month basis. Manufacturing jobs basically went sideways, but contracting technically by 14,000 jobs. But federal government, this is the big one. We saw a contraction of, get this, 168,000 jobs in that 2-month period. The reason why it was so steep was because of those DOGE buyouts. A lot of those federal employees that were getting these letters earlier this year officially came off the federal government payroll September going into October. That's the reason why we saw that contraction. I should also point out that number did not include any sort of furloughs from the government shutdown, because the government did count them, at least as far as these statistics go, as employed during that period of time. One last thing I want to show here is the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate did go up to 4.6% in the month of November. Yes, that does imply a little bit of a tick up here, but of course, the margin of error with specific regard to the unemployment rate is indeed a big question. In fact, the 4.6%, that covers November. We did not get an unemployment rate for the month of October because of issues in data collection for that period of time.
So let's talk about, Brian, like the differences in these two reports and just like how reliable the data even is, given the disruption we saw during the shutdown. You mentioned a number we didn't even get. How much of a concern is that?
Yeah, so look, for the record, this is still the gold standard of economic data, but because there were no government officials working during the entire month of October because of the government shutdown, they didn't get a lot of data. And again, not only is this delayed, we were expecting the October numbers if there was not a government shutdown on November 7th. Again, here we are in December. We were supposed to get the November jobs report last week, so that's also delayed. But I think more important is the data that we did not get. So here is a checklist of the different types of things that we usually look at in these jobs reports. Of course, we do this on a monthly basis. Non-farm payrolls, how many jobs were added, industry details, where were those jobs added, average hourly earnings, how much did people earn over that period of time. We got all that data for October and November, but what we did not get for October, we did not get an unemployment rate. We did not get demographic details. We don't have a black unemployment rate, an Asian unemployment rate. We don't have youth unemployment rates. All that data is usually collected by government officials that call people on the phone. They were not at work during that government shutdown. They did not get that data. For November, you'll see everyone was back online. But again, you have a whole month of missing data that we'll just never get again. At some point, you imagine that this will become a moot point because we'll have all these other data points to compare year over year. But this is going to be an issue when we get to next October, trying to compare it to last year.
All right. Brian Cheung, a lot to cover here. Thank you so much.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.